Alright, what we're going to do today is we are going to go ahead and visit D.I.Y Auto School. That's where we're at right now with my friend Pete. And we are in the process of painting a custom motorcycle. Now, this is a very easy, simple type of a paint job, but when you're done with it, it has a very high-tech and expensive feature and look to it, you might say.
Welcome to D.I.Y Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Actually tried to paint all this himself and kind of got lost, and then he brought him over here, and then I gave him a DIY auto school lesson right here at SWR&C, Southwest Rod and Custom, and then he decided to go ahead and leave him here and just let me finish him out because he wanted the ghost flames on him and he was afraid to tackle the job. And that's why I'm making this video for you guys out there that are too timid and too shy to jump in and try something. And if it fucks up, it fucks up. And you got to just keep on going. You can't give up on it. If it fucks up, try it again. If it fucks up, try it again. You know, take a couple days break on it and, you know, work your way through the situation. But what we got here, we got a custom Harley-Davidson motorcycle tank. I'm sorry, this is actually a Harley-Davidson replica, and it's actually not even a Harley-Davidson. It's called a Big Dog. This is a Big Dog motorcycle. It's called a Ridgeback, and it's got a real long, skinny tank on it. And then we got some fat fenders on the back, and we got a skinny fender on the front. And it's basically a hardtail motorcycle chopper type bar hopper is what I call them, because you really wouldn't want to take this bike on a long trip. It's basically just to hop around town from, you know, point A to point B and then go home and put your back brace on and take, you know, about a whole bottle of fucking Doan's pills to soothe your fucking asshole and your tailbone and your spinal cord from all of the rupture that you just gave it going 10 miles down the road and back. So anyway, enough said about the motorcycle. What we're going to do is that's what we got here, and I'm going to show you very simply and easily how to tape your flames off. We're going to go ahead and go through that process, then we're going to go ahead and paint them, and then once we do that, we're going to go ahead and clear coat them. Now, before we go any further, I want to tell you what I did to get it to this stage. If you look at this tank right here, you can see that it's really not clear coated, but it is clear coated. And what we did is we went ahead and shot the black paint on it, and then we put a product called DBC 500, which is made by PPG. I don't like to advertise, but if I got to give you the lesson thoroughly, I'm going to have to tell you what I used. It is a product that is an intercoat clear. It's actually a color blender. That means what you do with it, it's used for if you blend some paint into a quarter panel, then you would take that stuff to burn the paint in. But it has become a big product in the industry of custom paint and body that you use this product to literally clear coat it. It doesn't require any type of hardener, and you just add reducer to it, 50-50 mix, and then you spray it on here and then wait overnight, bam, it's done. So I put 2 coats of that on there. And if we look at the tank, you can see it's got a nice sheen to it and looks very, very appealing, you might say. So it leaves a satin finish on it. And then what we're going to do with our tank to proceed is we are going to go ahead and take some 1500, and then we're going to take a sponge with some water in it, and we're going to go ahead and just scuff that down. Now, the reason we're scuffing it down is because we want our pearl mix to stick to the tank. Remember one thing, this is not clear coated. All it has is the sealer on it, the DBC 500, and it is only used as a sealer to protect the base coat paint. When you're sanding this, you want to stay away from the edges because we only put 2 thin coats on it, and all it's doing is sealing the black paint. So make sure when you sand it to sand it very lightly, very easily, and make sure you cover it everywhere. Using minimal water and lightly sanding it. You don't have to use a sponge with this because all we're doing is scuffing it down to where we will have a good surface to apply our tape and our pearl mix. And I'm saying pearl mix because when we get to that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So then we'll turn it around. And if you don't have a soft surface underneath your tank, be very careful for moving it around because it will scratch it. I do have a soft surface blanket that I use, but I don't want to get it wet because we'll be using that when we apply our flames. And then as you see, we are now done sanding our tank. Like I said, it's just a light coat. I don't know what color you're painting your motorcycle tank. This one's black, so as I'm sanding it, I'm actually watching the milky residue, you might call it, and I want to see white. I want to see white residue. If I start seeing black, or if this was blue, if I started seeing blue or green or whatever color you're painting it, if you start seeing a color in your water residue, stop immediately and don't sand no more, because you have now busted through your sealer and are sanding paint. So stop immediately right where you're at and don't sand anymore. Alright, so now that we get our tank sanded down, the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and start taping off our flame design that we're going to put on our motorcycle tank itself. Now, one thing about this, when you do this, you want to make sure that your hands are very, very clean. You don't want to come out here and do this right after you ate dinner or lunch and with greasy fingers and greasy hands. And the way that I always clean my hands when I'm doing something like this is I use rubbing alcohol and a nice clean rag, and I'll wipe my hands off. And what that does, it takes all the grease and oil out of your hands, so when you go to paint your flames, you don't have no fishing or any type of reaction due to grease. And yeah, you get the fucking idea what's going on. So we got two types of tape here. One is an 1/8 inch tape and the other one is a 1/4 inch tape. And one is a little bit fatter than the other, and if we're working on something big, I like to use the 1/4 inch tape, and I actually like to use this all the time. But since this is such a small item, instead of a car, we're using this is a gas tank. We're going to go ahead and probably use the 1/8 inch tape right here, which is going to give us a more flexible feel. That was a motorcycle that just passed. Ain't that a coincidence? We're working on a motorcycle and painting a motorcycle and listening to motorcycles fly by in the wind. So what I was saying is I like to use the 1/8 inch on this littler stuff because it has more flexibility, and the smaller the item is, the more flexibility you need. Now we're going to go ahead and lay down 2 sets of flames on this, and the owner really wasn't particular about the style. He just wanted them long, and he wanted old school hot rod flames. Once again, this is a ghost flame setup. You can actually use this situation that I'm showing you. You can actually use this on if you were going to paint real flames, but we're into the ghost flame situation right now, and that's what we're going to show you, how to do that nice and easy. Now what I do is, if you look right here on the opening, this is where the tank sits on the frame, right here in this opening. What I use is I use that as a center point. So before we do anything, we're going to go ahead and take a piece of tape. We're going to go right down the center of that tank, just like that. And then basically what we did, we just cut our tank in half. That gives us 2 halves that we can look at separately. Now, if this was a set of Harley-Davidson tanks where you have a left and a right, what would we do is we would set our tank on our side just like this. We'd go ahead and flame that out, and then from there we would go ahead and make a pounce pattern, and that's where you take a piece of paper, you cover it with your paper, and then you would take a piece of crayon like this right here, and then you would go ahead and trace your pattern out, take your paper off, and then you take your pounce pattern tool, go along it with your pounce pattern tool, flip it over backwards on reverse, going to this side of the tank, on the other side of the tank, and then you take your chalk and your pounce pattern tool, and you'd go ahead and pounce a pattern on there, and then you'd have an outline to follow that would be almost near perfect mirror image of this side. But since this is just a one single-sided tank, we're going to go ahead and do freestyle flames on this one. And once again, when you look at these, it's going to look like there's a lot of empty space there. And the reason for that is because we're going to do 2 sets of flames. So I'm going to put 1 and 2 flames on each side. And then that's going to be some pretty big long flames to cover this up. But when I put the second set on, it's going to be 2 sets of flames, 1 and 2, which will overlap these and intertwine with them. And then what's going to happen is we're going to have 2 sets of flames, and the whole tank will look like it's flamed up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to imaginary the lid right here. Okay, that's very important. This actually has a gas saver that screws onto the tank, and that's going to come out approximately 1/4 inch out. And then once you got the gas saver, then of course the gas cap goes on. So we got to compensate for that circle right there. So we want to make sure when we start our flames out, we want to make sure that we have enough room over here where the gas saver isn't going to go on top of the flame, and then it'll look cheesy. I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/8 inch tape. I'm going to start right here, just like that, basically real close to my center line. I'm going to come out like this, and this is where you have to get a technique going where you're actually drawing with the tape. And when I say draw with the tape, I'm taking one finger and pushing while I'm rolling with the other finger. Watch how it's done. When you do this, do not stretch the tape. When you stretch the tape gets littler, and we do not want the tape to get littler. So we got one line right there. So now what I'll do is I'll come over here, and I'm going to try to manipulate my way on doing the same line, just like that. Now these won't be exactly perfect due to the fact that I'm not making a mirror image pounce pattern, but what it'll do, it'll give the appearance that it's almost exactly the same. Because once we put this 2 flames on and then we lay our other 2 flames on there, it's going to be so busy you won't even know what the fuck you're looking at. And one more thing about our pattern, the only really pattern that you're going to be able to see that might have a mirror image is this section right in here. Once you start rolling over to the sides, you can only see one side at a time. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So we'll take our 1/8 inch tape again. We're going to start right there just like that. And this is where you got to get creative and start really taking your time and bringing the flames out. Now the owner said he wanted some long skinny flames, so we're going to try to make these as long and skinny as we can, but we have to make big gaps because there's going to be another set of flames on. This is where it gets hard, rolling that tape over. Watch how I do it. I'm using one finger to push and the other finger to roll. It's real important to roll that the way it's supposed to be, because if you don't, then what's going to happen is your flames are going to look very, very odd and awkward. And I didn't like that way that one was coming out, so we're going to go ahead and start over. So we're going to make it long. We're going to come around like this. Okay, I didn't like the way that one was coming out either, so what I'll do is I'll start over here and work my way around after I answer the fucking phone again. Now we're back in the game. Hopefully nobody will call and disrupt us. Let's get back on with our DIY auto school lesson as we go ahead and manipulate some nice long skinny flames. And if you noticed, I actually moved to the other side of the tank, so you're going to have to go back and forth. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we'll go ahead and do this one as we're standing here, because we want them 2 rolls to be the same. And we're going to start right here. And if you watch, I'm not stretching the tape in any way whatsoever. And that's too little. Do you see the difference here? This one's up here, this one's down here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take that off. And we're not going to get upset. We're not going to go crazy over it because this is just tape. We're going to take our time. And we're going to go like this, right here. And now it almost looks the same, but it's not exactly the same. Which is actually just fine because, like I said, once we put our other flames in here, it'll look awesome. And you want me to tell you the honest truth, I really don't like this one. I'm going to take it off. And the reason I didn't like it, I'm going to tell you why, is because when you look at these flames, you don't want to look at the tape. When you look at the tape edge, and outside tape edge to outside tape edge, that's the wrong way to look at a flame because the place that's going to be painted is on the inside. And when I was looking at this one, it was just a little too skinny versus the one over here. I kind of like this size better. So we're going to go ahead and try to do this one more time. And we're going to try to make it just like that one. And that looks a lot better. I like that design better. The openings are even. The points are almost exactly the same. And it's got the same thickness. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm looking at the inside, not the outside. This one here is a little skinnier than this one, but I think it's going to work out nice. So we're going to keep on going. I'm going to bring this around here. And if you notice, I'm following this curve because I want it to make it look like a flame. Now watch how I do that. Let me go ahead and get a new piece of tape there. And remember the thickness. You want to keep them the same thickness. Always watch that. Do you see what I'm talking about? See how I curved it around and now it's starting to look like a flame? So we're going to curve it around and I'm going to be nice and steady. I don't want to get shaky about it. And then we're going to bring it around just like this. And I don't like the way that curve happened there, so we're going to come around one more time. Just like that. We're going to get real close to it. Just like that. Okay, and I think this is going to end up being a 1.5 flame. This one being a full flame, and then of course the one I'm putting on here now, a half a flame. And I don't like the way that turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and peel it off. I didn't like the way that the line was laying down. It didn't look squared up. Once again, these are ghost flames, and my fucking phone is ringing again, bitch! Okay, and then what we'll do, and I'm just going to do this to show you, I'm going to pull the center line off, if I can find it. It's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. It's right here. And then when you pull the center line off, you can see that the top of the tank is looking almost mirror image of what we're looking at. So when we take the tape off, you can actually see what's going on. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and tape this tank off so we can go ahead and lay our flames down. So we can go ahead and paint them. And there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way that you're probably going to do it, and then I'm going to show you the way that I'm going to do it. So the way that you're probably going to do it is you're going to use masking tape. Now, when you do this, I'm going to strongly suggest you need to use automotive paint and body masking tape. Do not use that cheap stuff that you buy at Lowe's. Do not get some cheap, inexpensive stuff that you buy at Walmart or Kmart. Go to your professional paint and body supply store and get some professional masking tape, because this is designed as a low-tack tape that will not peel the paint off, and it will come off very easy and it seals very good. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and start outlining all of the lines with our 3/4 inch tape. Now on this particular tape, you can go ahead and pull it to stretch it so you can go around the corners. You want to go ahead and put that tape right on top of the outline tape, just like you see me do, right in the center. It's very important to do that. And once you get the hang of it, it actually goes really, really fast. Another thing you want to do, you want to make sure that you overlap your tape when you're taping it off, and you want to make sure that you're not going to go inside where the flame will be painted. Alright, so this is the way that you will probably do it. Get that tape out of there. Is you will go ahead and use the masking tape. Now the way that I do it inside these big holes is I take that straight line there and I go just like this. And then once you put your tape down, you can see an impression of where the tape is. So what we'll do is we'll take our chalk or our crayon, and you go ahead and push down on using the side of your crayon, just like you see me do right here. All right, and then it'll leave an impression. And then what you'll do is you'll take your X-Acto knife, and I'm going to strongly suggest that using an X-Acto knife to do this, you want to use a dull X-Acto knife. Do not use a brand new one. Because what will happen is you'll cut through this tape here, and then when you paint it, overspray will go in between that line, and then you'll have to sand that off. So when you cut your tape off, just use enough pressure just to cut through the yellow tape, or whatever color you're using. Stay right in the middle of your outline tape while you're doing this. And then once you cut through it, you can peel it off just like that. Now I noticed right down here, I'm overlapping my tape over into where it gets painted, so I'm going to go ahead and take it just like that, and then I'll peel that off as well if I can get a good bite on it. Here it is. And then that way, if we look at it real close, we can see that I got it all the way down to the point. And then you just proceed yourself all the way around. You take your 2-inch tape and you overlap that just like that. And then you do the same thing. We aren't going to do it that way. I might do it that way, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the other way to do it, which would be a more sufficient and accurate way when doing something like this. And that would be using this paper right here, which is called frisket paper. Now I want to show you, on one side it's sticky, on the other side it's not. And I'm going to show you what it does. I'm going to go ahead and peel a little piece off here. And we might go ahead and use this. You have to really know what you're doing when it comes to using this stuff, and it's not that easy to use. So sometimes using this stuff is a two-man job. Now if we were doing a set of Harley-Davidson tanks, we would definitely use this stuff. We would definitely do that. So what you would do is you take the frisket paper, and you can see right here, I told you it was sticky, so you got to be careful on a windy day like today. And what we'll do is we'll go like this right in the middle of the tank. We're going to push it down. And we didn't go down far enough, hang on. Okay, we're going to push it down just like this. Frisket paper is very good paper to use. And the only place you can buy this is at a printing shop supply store. So you can see as I'm wrapping it around, okay, it's going to start wrinkling up on me, but that doesn't matter, I don't care. Alright, as long as they're nice tight wrinkles where I'll be able to cut through them, that's all I care about. And then we'll go ahead and wrap that under here to cover our tank up. Just like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crayon, and then what I'll do is I will go ahead, just like you're watching me do here, and I'll hit wherever the tape is, because you'll be able to see an imprint of the tape. So you're going to want to do this so you can trace the tape out, so you'll know where to X-Acto knife it, because the tape is so thin that it's kind of hard to see, especially on a black motorcycle, when you're using this type of tape. And then you're just going to come across like this with your crayon, just like you see me do. You're going to find that line, you're going to get your paper where it sticks down nice. And you can see the flame coming out as I trace around it. And then now, once you look at it, you can see the outline of where your tape is that you used with your outline tape. So then the next thing to do is take our X-Acto knife, just like you see right here, and then what we'll do is we will go ahead and lightly, and when I say lightly, I mean very lightly, because this stuff is very, very thin, staying right in the middle of our black line that we drew, that we traced over. We're just going to go ahead and draw right on the top of it in the middle of our black line. And then once you have traced it out like I just did, you are going to grab it. I guess we'll start back here. And then you'll see that if you cut it out properly, it should peel off just right. Just like that. And now this side is ready for paint. You can see we have some nice long hot rod flames. There's a big opening there. The reason for that is because we're going to have some other flames overriding these flames. It's going to be a double flame job, and it's going to really look awesome. Always make sure to press down very vigorously. Even when you're using the frisket paper, the wrinkles will not cause any problems. You won't get any paint in them if you do exactly what I'm showing you. So let me go ahead and get this all ready to paint. Make sure all your air bubbles are out if you're using this, and I'll be back. Now that we've taped off everything and it's ready for paint, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up our pearl mix and go ahead and shoot our ghost flames. So if we look right here, you can see that I took my dry pearl mix. This is just dry pearl that they mix in paints. I went ahead and put it in a paint cup, and when I put it in the paint cup, what I did is I went ahead and sprayed it to cover the bottom of the cup, and then I went ahead and added my reducer. Now I just used regular old reducer, just like you see right here, regular old urethane reducer. I mixed it in, and it's all mixed up and ready to shoot. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and pour it into our cup, just like so. And then we are now ready to go ahead and paint our flames. All right, so the first set that we put on is going to obviously be red. You saw the red pearl. And now what I got here, I got my regular spray gun. Now if you use an airbrush or a touch-up gun, it's probably not going to work because the orifice of the two are too small, and the pearl that you're going to use to spray out will not flow out properly. So we're going to turn our air down to about 25 psi. Then we're going to close our pattern all the way down. You can see that right there. And then we're going to go ahead and control our volume with our trigger. Now, if you are not eligible to do that, what you're going to do is turn that in to where it barely comes out. All right, just like this right here. You can see that, okay? And then that's where you want to be. I'm going to focus on my edges right here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my spray gun, I'm going to go around these edges. The overspray will hit the center, and then what we'll have is a nice ghost flame. So this is a toucher-based situation, and hopefully you mixed your paint properly, and everything will go on right. Here we go. Go ahead and concentrate on our tips. And it's going to go on kind of wet, so you want to be very careful when you spray this. is our red. And I'm just going to smoke it in just a hair. I'm going to go a little bit more on the tips and on the edges. And that's going to give us a nice ghost flame pearl paint job. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do the fender the same way, just like I did it. We're going to go ahead and start at the bottom, and we're just smoking it in. When we're following our edge, that's what we want to do. We want to follow the edges. We don't care about the center. Get my tips. We get a little bit on this edge right here. You can see now, if it's looking okay in the camera, that you can see the red sunburst as we are painting our flames, and it's looking very good. And then as you can see, as I walk into it, you can see the red pearl just at a certain light. Okay, it kind of fades away as we move around it. Now the customer requested that he wants it a little bit darker on these edges, but he wants it to fade in on the center where it's black. So that's why I was concentrating on all these edges right here. And he also wanted the tips to be more of a solid color than a pearl. And then of course, if we get our light out, you can see that the whole thing is actually red. As I move the light around, you can see that, and it really looks nice. And then the same on the fender itself. You can see that even where it looks black, it's red. So that's what we're looking for. So what I'll do to finish this off, I'll go ahead and apply one full wet coat of DBC 500 color blender. And once again, I'm only showing this to you because I want to make sure that you, the viewer, gets all of the aspects of how to do this properly. This is kind of a technical job, but don't be afraid and don't be shy, because practice makes perfect. We'll be back when we apply the second coat of flames to see what it's going to look like.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.